Assalamu alaikum students. Welcome to this Power BI demo. We're going to be working on census data. Power BI is one of the most famous BI tools being used in different industries across the globe. It's well integrated with the whole Microsoft stack like Microsoft SQL Server database and the Microsoft Azure cloud platform and even technologies like Office 365 and SharePoint. So that's why it is famous, and Power BI itself also allows you to uh, you know work in a very good way using your business intelligence skills. So it makes it very convenient to do BI, and that's why it can be compared to tools like Tableau and ClickView, etc. We cannot say that Power BI is better than Tableau because Tableau has a very powerful visualization front end, which Power BI definitely does not have. But still, it will be it's we can say that as convenient to do BI in Power BI as it is in Tableau. But Tableau already definitely has an edge on visualization. Power BI does not have that edge, but they are improving all the time. And because they are well integrated with the Microsoft stack, so that's why Power BI is becoming very famous in the whole world in the last several years. Okay, so first I'll just share the data set with you guys. So I hope all of you can see that. So this data set is actually the data set for a census which was done in US. It consists of like maybe 11,580 people. This is not the complete sample, obviously. So obviously they did census of millions of people. We're just analyzing for these people. So in this case, when you select the top row in which the columns are there, and you okay, so by default it's going to be like that. But uh, when you select the column row and press on sort and filter and click on filter, so all of them have a filter, so you can drop down and see their values. So the age values start from 17 and go all the way up to 90. That's okay. The work class, the class of the work, for example, state government, without pay, private, never work, etc. So they created these groups for this variable. That's okay. We've also got some null values here, which is the question mark. The weights have been, recorded in some measure. Maybe they're pounds. It has to be seen in the measure. So the weight distribution goes like this. The education, they have discretized that into 10th, 11th, 12th, first to fourth, etc., 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 to some college. So you can see that the number of years of education are minimum 1 and maximum they are 16. Now we got different marital statuses, obviously, because someone could be divorced, uh, and they could be married but the spouse is not there. They could be separated, they were never married. And also we have these two categories, so we have to see what does this mean: married AF spouse, married CIV spouse. Okay, maybe living with spouse or living without spouse or something like that. Okay. So occupation, again they created these. We got some null values here as well. But administration, clerical, armed forces, craft repair, etc., all the way up to transport, moving, tech support, sales, etc. So we have the occupation. We also have the relationship. What's the relationship? So we have husband, not in family, other relative, own child, etc., etc., and wife. Um, and then we have the race recorded as well. So we can have blacks and whites and Asians and American Indians, etc., etc. So being categorized with respect to that. In gender, obviously, we got the males and females. That's easy to see. And then we have these two variables, which are basically numerical variables. So remember that in business intelligence, we have two types of variables. One are the KPIs, which are called key performance indicators. So key performance indicators are basically those things that are related to your business, right? Which drive your business, or which you want to analyze on a daily basis or on an hourly basis, for example, for that matter. So they are called KPIs. And KPIs, as much matter, for example, some of the KPIs are sales, number of customers, number of deposits in a bank, number of ATM transactions or ATM, cash, cash deposits or check deposits, etc., etc., and number of successful deliveries in a logistics business. So all of these are KPIs that you want to monitor because they are directly tied up with your revenue. In the case of census, we're not actually looking for revenue. We're actually looking for things like the gain and the loss and the salary information, which are more numerical in nature. We might be also interested in the number of years of education and hours per week, along with the age as KPIs, because the KPI age, in a census, age becomes very important. It's like sales in a retail business, right? So in a census, age becomes very important because it helps you to realize how many old people are there who can potentially pass away in the next like couple of years, how many young people are there who are going to get employment, etc., etc. So age can be a KPI for a census analysis, and even the education years. So if someone is highly educated, or most people in the census were highly educated, you can expect that things are moving in the right direction. So these things become very important in the scenario of census analysis. In census, we are not looking for things like sales or something like that, but we're looking more towards these demographic variables, which are more apt to be called KPIs. Okay, so one of the variable types is a KPI, and the other type is a dimension. So I'll just write that down here. So it's one of the type is a KPI. I identified the KPIs for you. For example, age, the education, number of years of education. You can also say, for example, in this case, the salary. Although the salary here is like more of a string value, but we can consider that as numerical as well. We can interpret that in a numerical way. Greater than 50K and less than or equal to 50K. The number of hours per week being worked by the people is extremely important. That's also KPI. And we could have things like capital gain or capital loss in this case as well. And the other variable type is called a dimension. So a dimension is a variable across which KPIs are analyzed. I read the word here, across. So for example, I can see the number of hours per worked with respect to, for example, occupation. So what are the average number of hours being worked by clerical staff? I can also see that with respect to marital status. How many numbers of hours are being worked by divorced people and with respect to married people? I can compare that. Okay. So everything that is not a KPI is actually a dimension. So I will analyze the KPI across the dimensions, and the more important dimensions in the business are, for example, time, date, location, customer segment type, product type, etc., etc. I mean, the doctors which cure the patients, which treat the patients, etc., etc. Okay, so these are the most famous dimensions, but typically we have to figure out the dimensions for our own data set separately. Okay, so in this case, I told you, or basically the dimensions could be the string values, So string values, the columns with string values are typically considered as dimensions. So that's one way to think about that. So in education, for example, bachelor, so I can say, what is the average age for bachelors? What is the average age for ninth graders? What is the average age for bachelors? Average age for doctorate? Average age for 11th grade, etc., etc. So basically, I am analyzing the average age or the age, we can say, across things like marital status, occupation, and relative country, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So these are the two things that we need to keep in mind, and in this case, I think we have both of them. It's obvious. So when we go ahead, so we have in this case gender, and then we have the capital gain and the capital loss. So they've recorded that individually for every participant, the capital gain and the capital loss. But we have to dig down that what do these terms mean? The number of hours per week which has been worked by each census participant, the native country of the participant, and the salary per annum. So it's a very diverse sort of information. Before we put that in Power BI, we have to understand that why we are analyzing. Why do we want to analyze? Why do we want to do BI? Why? I don't want to do BI because Power BI is a very famous tool. That's a very strange way of thinking, and it's completely useless. If I don't need to do BI, then I don't need to do it. So Power BI has nothing to do with that. So why am I doing business intelligence? Why am I solving this problem? Why am I importing this data set in Power BI? Because I want to understand what's happening in my senses. Okay, I got so many columns that I can't make sense of them together. For example, if you can see it from this perspective, that we have all of this data. I'm just gonna like minimize that for some time. So let's say I minimize that. So if you think from an example like this, that I have let's pick one row here. So I pick this row. So this is some female with someone's wife. She has a master's and she works in the private sector. So even for this one particular individual, there's lots and lots of data, right? So as a human being, I cannot make sense of this, just by looking at it. So I need to make sense of it by collecting it, by seeing it in some chart, for example, or trying out different charts, and also the fact that I basically have to analyze the KPIs across the dimensions. That's what I do in business intelligence. I analyze the KPIs across the dimensions. So that's pretty good. So I got many KPIs. I've already identified that age is a potential KPI. The number of hours per week that is worked by the person is a potential KPI. Education years is a potential KPI. I don't know whether weight is a KPI. I don't think so. Okay, weight can be labeled as a KPI. And also the salary per annum can be considered a KPI, but in this case, it is discretized into string columns. So we have to consider that as a string. We'll see what Power BI has to offer and how we can analyze that. So our purpose of doing this is BI is to understand what's happening in my senses, understand the attributes of the people, understand the demographics of the people across all the dimensions that are available. Okay, so in this case, there could be a very generic type of requirement that please analyze this and extract useful information from this analysis and tell us what you can find regarding males and females, regarding blacks, regarding high school measures, etc., etc. So that's the thing, that the reason that we do analysis. Okay, so in this case, there's no specific requirement that okay, you want to do customer segmentation or you want to understand the sales patterns. No, we just have lots and lots of data regarding millions of people, and then we want to basically analyze what's happening. I mean, what are these people? What are they doing? How are they related to each other, etc., etc. So BI is going to provide me the answers for these questions and many other questions which I myself do not know right now, uh, because I cannot understand the data like Power BI will do. If I select a chart in Power BI, the Power BI is going to make an indication which variable should I put on this chart, and that chart is going to give me something unique which I don't know already. So that's what I want to extract from the chart. Okay. So I hope that it has been clear up to now. Okay. So now it's time to Power BI. Power BI Desktop is actually a free tool which can be downloaded. So I'll just share. So here we have, and I'll just share. So I hope you can see this now. I'll just confirm this. Yeah, you can see. So first of all, I'd like to sign in. All of you have a Office 365 account. So what you can do is that you can sign in here. So I just use my email. So I think students have their KHI email, so you can sign. Or then you'll have to build a Power BI account, and that basically is your Office 365 account. So I asked it might take some time. So we have a pop-up which shows sign into your account. So here it asks me to put the password. So I'll see something here. Now you can see that it is signed in here. I'm counting as Tariq, and that tells me basically that I can connect my results to, like, I can connect data from different sources. Like I already have a Microsoft SQL Server installation. I can connect to that. I can connect to Azure, because I'm a Microsoft Stack user, so I can use the Power BI in different ways across the different offerings of Microsoft. Okay? So that helps me to remain connected with things like Azure and all those things, if needed, SharePoint, etc. So Power BI has, what you need to understand here is that it has these are the visualizations, the different types of charts that you have, um, and these are the fields. Fields are or potentially the attributes. So I can just simply, right now we don't need the field column. So what I can do is that I can just do this. So if I want the fields, I can extract them. So I have three layers here. One is the filter layer. So just, so when I minimize all of them, first of all, I have the filters. So filters are similar to filters like we did in Tableau, or we have in Tableau for that matter. So I can drag a data field here. That means a column, and I can put a filter on that. For example, I can put a filter on the gender. So I just want to see the results for males or just for females. Okay. In the second layer, we have the visualizations, in which we have all the possible charts that can be, I can use to do BI. And then in the third case, we have the fields. So fields are basically all the attributes will be listed here. So when I do Power BI, when I load the data, all the attributes are going to be listed here, and I'm going to use those attributes as input to different types of charts, and I can use the attributes as input to different types of filters, and I can see the results here. So whatever I do in these three panes, the results will be updated here, and this is where I build all the dashboards. This is where I build all the dashboards, and I can I can also have these different pages. Like in Tableau, we had the different sheets. So in this case, we can have page 1, page 2, page 3. So I mean, this could be like customer analysis. This could be product analysis. This could be like I don't know, some service analysis or something like that. And in this case, I can do all these things on different pages, different things on different pages. That's the mindset. Um, and then we also have this, this is the report. This is the data view, and this is the data integration view. So if I'm importing data from different data sources, I might need to connect them together. So I can use this connection pane to do that. And this is where I can see the data that I import, and this is where I do the actual BI. Okay. So I guess all of these things are pretty clear. We have basically the report view, in which I'm going to design the dashboards. I'm going to see the data in this one. Here we have the filters, we have the charts, and here we have the different column names that I can see when I import the data. Okay, so that makes it pretty simple. So let's see how uh, the the Power BI is going to work now. Okay. So let's import the data now, because the data is in CSV format. So I can put on get data, and obviously I can say Excel. If it's a CSV, then we can have this, but the data we have is in Excel format, sorry. So I can just import the Excel. So in this case, I have the census data, and I can click on open. So this establishes a new data source. And here we have this sheet 1. I'm interested more in sheet 1, where we have this. I think this adult is so this is another sheet in the Excel workbook, but I am just interested in sheet 1. Okay, so I can load the data directly, or I can, if I want to transform it right now, I can also do that. So let's see what transform has to offer. So I'm taken to this Power Query editor. Okay. And here I can do all the transformations, and then I can click on close and apply, and I'm going to be taken back to my report pane. Okay. So in this case, you can see that it's giving me, it's allowing me to do many things with my variables. So I can sort it, and I can put on different side of operations here. So first of all, I just want to change the, I want to make the so in this case there are no null values. So I have 66 different unique values of age. Um, I don't want to remove the duplicates because that's going to remove the records. So that means I might have like maybe, I might have like maybe 1,000 people who have an age of 44. So I can't remove the I can't remove the duplicates because it's going to remove the rows completely. So I don't need to remove the duplicates in this case. Um, I have 66% distinct values, and I have 1% unique values. So it's I want to keep the duplicates because I don't want to mess with so the duplicates will remain, because typically the duplicated values are also sometimes you just want to remove them because they are repetitive. So in this case everything seems fine. Let me see what other, remove empty number, replace errors, etc., etc. So in this case, currently everything seems fine. Okay, so I guess you were not able to see this screen before the Power Query editor. I still have not saved anything, so it's still untitled. I just changed the screen share. So in this case, I think you can see it. So I just changed the age to have capital A here. And in this case, I have I decided to keep the duplicates because duplicated rows mean each row represents a different person, so I can't remove any duplicates. So for example, here you see in this case I have 53, 53, 53, 53. So these are 4 people with a value 53, so I can't remove the duplicates in this case. I hope that this thing is clear. So I'll just say okay, keep the duplicates. And Power BI is apparently okay with that, so it allows me to keep the duplicates. Um, and the other thing that it offers is keep the errors. There are currently no errors. Replace errors with no errors. I don't want to copy anything. But what it says here is that we have 66 distinct values and 10 unique values. So what that means is that overall in this column, I have 66 different types of numbers. So I have 66 different age values and 10 unique. So that basically means that out of these 66, there are 10 values which have occurred only once in the data set. Okay. So that's 1% of the whole column. So they just occurred once. For example, someone might have an age of maybe 99. So maybe 99 has occurred only once. So let me, if I sort it, uh, sort descending, so let us see the unique values that are there. So usually 17 is not a unique value, because lots of people have an age of 17. So I just try to sort it in descending order, and maybe it's going to be more. So even 90 is not a unique value because 90 is also occurring lots of times. So whatever, that really does not, it's clear the sort. That really does not, it's not important for us, but we just want to understand that okay, we have 66 distinct values and 10 unique values. And similarly, I can just try to change this work dot class. It's always better to do it like this. Okay. So in this case, we have this chart here. Again, I don't want to. I just want to keep the duplicates here. I don't think so. Power BI is going to remove the duplicates by default, but this is not the column in which I want to be removing duplicates, as I think you understand right now. Okay, so um, load more. I have these null values. Okay, so let's see what I can do about these null values. So what I have here is remove empty, right? So if I remove empty, no, okay. So I think they have been. So I just want to remove this question mark. So I just say I don't want to consider these values. Okay, I just click OK. So I've removed the rows in which I had the question mark because I don't want to it's not something that I want in my data set. So I can also apply different filters in that, but currently uh, I also don't want to mess with the actual values here. So whatever is here, that is okay. If I want to change the value names, if I want to change them, then I think I probably have to go back to Excel and do that. But currently, I just have to okay. And weight also I'm gonna change in the same way. Sorry about that. So in the case of work class, you can say that I have 6 distinct values, but there is no unique value. So that basically means that there is no single value that occurs only once. Okay. And the weight values are typically okay. So I'll just see the distribution. If I have null values, I don't have any question marks here. So everything seems fine. I can say remove empty, but there are no empty values here. So I just, it's not going to do anything to the distribution. And we can also check the distribution of the age. The age distribution it does not seem to be normal, but we can check that in Power BI when we go to here. It seems, very tightened normal distribution. And the weight distribution is also quite spread out, does not seem to be quite normal. We'll see that later on. And in the work class, you can see that, I have one value which occurs a very large number of times as compared to the other 5 values. So we'll see which value is that. In education, again, I'll just want to, change the name like this. Uh, so, so I have the education and I don't have any empty values here. So I'll just say load more. So it's loaded all the values here and there are no empty values. So I don't need to press on remove empty and everything seems fine. Again, there are no unique values here. In the case of weight, I have around 1000 unique values. That's understandable because the distribution is too diverse. I have 16 different values of education. That is okay because that is how they have recorded the data. That's their own discretization. Education years, again, I can do something like that. So you can see the distribution is quite skewed towards the right. Even the education distribution is skewed, although education is not a normal distribution, but you can see that there are 2 or 3 education levels which are outweighing all the other levels. So these 3 guys have a larger frequency than all the other ones. Similarly, in the education years also, uh, these 3 education periods are basically heavier than all the other ones as far as frequency is concerned. The same trend is seen in marital status as well. So 2 or 3 of the frequency values are more than the other ones. And in this case, I have like maybe uh, 7. I think it was 7 distinct values. So I the education years, I want to go all of them, and it's like 1 to 16, so that's okay. And in marital status, it's I want to load more. So again, it's okay. So there are no null values here. Occupation, again, I can decide to do like this. I got 14 distinct values and 1 unique value. So that's an outlier probably, that there's one guy who has a very unique occupation which is not shared by anybody else. That's okay. There are no null values, so I don't want to mess with those. Similarly, in relationship, So I have six distinct values. No, in this case, I also have the option of like determining the data type. So I forgot to tell you. 123 stands for numerical column, so that's the Power BI data type for integers and probably floating point values as well. And ABC is the data type for categorical values or string values. So here I think it has detected everything automatically in a good way. The relationship also does not have any some any null values here, so that seems fine. And the race also is equal to b. So the race variable is probably the uh, already saw the values in Excel, so there are not many unique values, but there are no outliers, so I don't need to. We have five distinct values, but one of them is outweighing. So probably the whites are the most frequent because it's the data based on US. Gender, male and female seem quite balanced. So I think males are double the females. So that's not a balanced distribution. I'm sorry, but still, I mean, we have just two distinct values, and there are no values like the capital gain has a very skewed distribution towards the right. So you can see that one of the values is probably it's a zero value. So I can put a filter on the zero value because I don't know whether I can put a filter on that, because if I put a filter on that, then that's going to remove lots and lots of rows from analysis. So I can analyze the rows with zero capital gain separately and those with greater than zero capital gain separately, because I think in this long bar is associated with zero capital gain, and similarly here it is with a zero capital loss. So I just want to check there are no null values. So I have zero values. Uh, that seems okay. I don't have nulls here. That seems also okay. Um, as far as hours per week is concerned, so this is okay, but again, I have a skewed distribution here. I have 17 unique values, but I don't look for unique values in things like hours per week or capital loss. So I don't really care about that. I am more interested in the shape of the distribution. So here seems it's fine. Currently, there are no null values because if there were, then I would be having question marks here. But just to be on the safe side, I will say remove the empty values. By the way, you do remember that when I remove the empty values, uh, in that respect, uh, we have to see how many rows will be affected by that. So we don't want to delete like 50% of the data because uh, based on one particular column. So for example, if this if this column contains 50% missing values, I'm not going to say go ahead and delete those missing values. That is going to delete 50% of the rows. I'm going to probably delete this column from my analysis, but I'm not going to tell it to delete the rows that contain missing values because that's going to affect my all the other data and my analysis. Okay. So in this case, I don't think so. We have so I've not selected the null values at all. I have 55 distinct and 17 unique. Uh, okay, so I'll just rename that as C gain. This will be hours per week. Um, an unexpected error occurred. What is that? So I just renamed it to C dot gain, and I don't know why it was given an unexpected error. I'm renamed it to C dot loss, and just so just to, again, so recorded. Let's say E general. In any case, we have the native country. I don't know what's giving an error, so maybe we'll get clear about that in Power BI. So I have the native country here, and the native country mostly all of we know that's it's United States mostly. And let's see what other values that we have here. Um, okay, so I have this question mark here. In this case, I'm just going to remove that. Okay, I don't want a question mark. I think the other countries are okay. This we have India, Iran, etc. And then we have the salary per annum. Okay, salary per annum is a very important variable for me. So I'll just put that with salary. That's the thing. So I don't have any other. So what I can do is that if you click on any column here, so it allows you to do things like remove this column, remove the other columns, duplicate this column, remove the duplicates in this column, change the type of the column, transform this column. So I can round up the values here. The values are already rounded up in age. I can take the absolute value. I don't need to do that because it's already rounded up. I can replace the values here. So that's where I wanted to do that. So I can fill the values up and down to some value that I provided, pivot or unpivot the columns. I can drill down even here. So there are lots and lots of things that you can do. So let's try to change some of the values in some of the columns to make them more attractive or interactive. So if we look at the marital status, you can see that I have I can understand things like widowed and separated and never married. I can also understand divorced. I can understand married spouse absent. That means that the guy or whatever the female is married, but they're not living with their spouse. They're living alone. So maybe it's some sort of a separation. Uh, Married AF spouse and married CF spouse probably means that they are living together, but they have two different meanings in that. But currently, as we don't know what do these terms mean, so I'll assume that both of these terms actually mean that the married spouse present. So they're married and living with the spouse. So I'll just equate that with married, both of these values, this one and this one with married spouse present. Okay. So for that, I just right click here. I say replace values, and the value to find, I can just copy it from here. So I can say married CIV spouse. Okay. And I can replace that with married spouse present. You might so I don't think so that was replaced here. But still married CIV spouse. That's strange. So um, I didn't undo here, but should have replace one value with another in the selected column. So it does not allow me to replace in that way with a new value. So I have to replace it with any one of the values which is already there. So that is not what I want to do. Okay, so in this case, I can't replace it like this directly. I have to use Excel to do that. Maybe you guys can figure out uh, how to do that from these. I got different transformation functions here. So I have this replace values. First one is show me the same. Uh, replace one value with another in the selected columns. It should have replaced us. Yeah. I'll just cross it again. So in this case, I think the mistake I did was that when I clicked the replace values, I should not have clicked on this match entire cell contents. When I did it without that, then it converted. So you can see that married spouse present is there, and there was another value which is called as this married AF spouse. I want to replace this as well with this same value. So let's do that. I'm going to say sorry about that. I'm going to say replace values, and I'm going to write here married AF spouse, and I'm going to replace that with married spouse present. Because I'm getting confused by the terms AF and CIV, so I just replace them with values which I understand more. So it's okay. And now it's replaced as well. So now if I see the distribution here, you will see what I was aiming at. So now those two values have disappeared, and now things are quite good. Okay. Similarly, I can try to do something else. This seems pretty okay for this position. So maybe I can do something related to this work class, federal government, local government, self-employed, state government without pay. That seems fine. We don't invest with that too much. Education levels might be too many, first to fourth, fifth to sixth, seventh to eighth, and ninth, and 10th, 11th, and 12th. So that's I think is too much. So I think from first to ninth, I can say primary school, okay, or basic education. I can see that as basic education, and 10th, 11th, and 12th, I can see advanced or graduate education, something like that. We also have a preschool here. So preschool is probably before the first, obviously. So I don't know. It could be a primary school from first to ninth, and from 10th to 12th, it could be a high school. Because I just want to do that because I think there are too many values here. So 10, 11, and 12, I should fill that up with high school. And here also I have the HS grad. So if I have HS grad here, then 10th, 11th, 12th can be pre-high school or something like that. Okay, and or this could be the secondary school, and these could be the primary school. So I want to replace class 1 to class 9 with a primary education, and class 10 to class 12 with the secondary education. So let's do that. So I say replace values, and it's that taking a long time to. So first of all, let me see. I'll just do that quickly so that we don't waste the time. 10th, 11th, 12th. So I'll say 10th and replace that with secondary. It's a long process, so I don't think that I need to put this in the video. You can do those. 11, put that into secondary again. So I'll just cross check. You see the 10th, 11th are gone, and I have the secondary. So I'll just do it, and then I'll start the video again. Okay? So I have replaced all in education. So you can see that the first, second, third is all finished. So the primary involves class 1 to class 9, and secondary involves class 10, 11, and 12. And then I have associate ACDM, associate VOC, bachelor's, doctorate, um, high school grad, master's, preschool. Uh, Preschool can also be, preschool could be like kindergarten or something like that. Prof school, I don't know what that means. Some college, some I can replace some college with college as well, and other values we'll see how to replace them as well. So, these could be like a SOC, ACDM, that's like maybe associate associate academics, or associate something like that. So I just want to replace both of them with the word associate first of all, and I have this HS grad, so I'll just put that as high school. Preschool, I'll just put that as preschool, like kindergarten or something like that. Some college can be replaced with college, and prof schools probably means a professional school. So professional school could be associated with the secondary education. So it's wrong to merge like this, but I have to decrease the I have to make these things more understandable. So I'm making assumptions regarding that. I'm doing it. If we have the guys from the business side sitting with us, then obviously they will tell us what do these terms mean. But currently, to facilitate our analysis, I will make all these changes. Okay, so I'll do those right now and then get back to you. So now you see, guys, that I have basically replaced all. We're trying to clean as much as possible. Um, the ASOC two values, ASOC ACDM and ASOC VOC, I've replaced with associate education. Uh, HS grad I've replaced with high school. The professional school I've replaced with secondary, and some college I still have to replace. I'm sorry about that. I forgot. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Some college. I have kindergarten here. So now things are looking pretty good now, and in all the other ones, I can just let the values be as they are. So all of these things over here, everything seems pretty balanced. I'm just worried about this large number of zeros in this capital loss and capital gain. But we'll figure this out later on. And all the changes that you do are recorded here, like in tableau prep. Those of you who work with tableau prep, you can see that all the changes are recorded here. So you can just click and go back and undo the changes if you want, I guess. Let me see. So I can delete or whatever I want to do. So you can actually keep a track of whatever happened, and just go back also. Or I think I just I hope I didn't invest in anything. It seems fine. So it's just probably telling me what has happened. Currently everything is fine. We could try to change this uh, relationship as well, along with this occupation, because occupation seems pretty diverse. But it's gonna take a long time, so I just leave that to you. If you're interested, you can do that. And in the case of relationship, we have things pretty clear, like husband, modern family, other relative, own child, unmarried, and wife. So that's pretty okay. So I think now we're ready to save. So I should first save the file. Now apply all the changes here. Okay. So I'm going to save that as a Power BI file. So I'm going to just rename that as Census. So now all the changes have been applied on the data that I imported in Power BI. And in this Power Query Editor, I got many other things I can do. For example, I can merge the queries. I can so in this case, These are more advanced topics probably right now. Uh, so I can change the date type of columns. So here I can change the data type of columns, use first row as headers, replace the values that we already used, group by split column. I can split the column across several values, remove rows, keep the rows. I can sort it like this. We have a properties editor, we have an advanced editor. So you see what advanced editor gives me. Oh, so it's basically detecting everything that I've done. Okay, I can manage the parameters that are not very important and so on and so on. So now I say click close and apply. So now so apply the query changes. So it's applying the query changes that I made. And now I can share with you the actual thing that you're going to be shown. So I'm going to be shown this one. So now this is what I was telling you about. If you look towards the right, first of all, there's the fields or the variables in sheet one. Um, so I can try to rename sheet one as data, actual data. Query names cannot contain periods or quotation marks. Okay, so I'll just rename it again. Census data. Like this, so it's now census data. You can see that the summation are representing the numerical columns that are by default considered um, as the KPIs. In this case, we don't have a KPI like sales. I told you before, and all the other columns are, all of them are simply, these are simply the dimensions. Okay, you simply like I can rename the columns even here. So P gender is looking quite bad, so I'll just rename that as gender. Comes here, and I can just rename this as well. I can say gap. Okay. So it's gonna click it. And C loss simply I can rename it. So now let's start with the analysis and how things can happen. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is to build a histogram. The histogram is not available as a custom visual here. So what I can do is that if you have signed in here, so I can just click here and say import from marketplace. So it's gonna open up a marketplace, a pop-up basically. It's going to show you all the custom views which are still not imported, and you can go ahead and select one or more of them. So you can see that now this has opened up a marketplace. So I can try to import the histogram chart. I can add that here, and it's gonna. You see that it is now added here. I can also try to add more, which we might be needing later on. So I'll have a bullet chart. Uh, if you have a bullet chart, was I think by default available in the Tableau. Um, so two measures over time, dual KPI, yes. So we'll let all of them and play with all of them. That's going to be interesting for you. So typically comes the default settings. So this is already added. Uh, Hierarchy slicer will also be important. You see how things are happening here. So this is also added now. The hierarchy slicer, and let me see what other we can add. Let's browse down. I have so I have lots of them, so I don't want to do all of them. Word cloud. Tachometer could be good. Although I already have a visual like that, but this one is more cool. So this is the tachometer. It seems a cool way of adding the videos like this, so uh, try to see, browse the different options. Very convenient to add in this way. This one is taking more time to add. So I think we'll just skip now the other ones. We'll just browse and see uh, what other options are there so that you can add them later on. Text filter, timeline slicer, power KPI matrix, sunburst. Probably you have not heard of rapid miner, but rapid miner sunburst chart is there. It's very good. So I just want to add it right now because it's one of the best charts we can have for understanding the relationship across more than one categorical variables. So if I want to analyze the sales or the KPIs across more than one string variable or dimension, then that's one of the best charts to have to understand the relationship. How are more than two or three variables affecting the sales? That's the sunburst chart. And now let's just browse through this. Okay? Radar chart, Sankey chart. I think I told you what's a Sankey chart. Sankey chart is more related to a process. So I want to add that as well. Tornado chat, but the others are okay. So this is the last one I would like to add, Sankey chart. It might be useful in other different applications. Okay, so now I'm done with this, and now let's start with the basic ones first.